It's a beautiful good morning and a warm welcome to Camnet TV Breakfast Show. I am Afya Captura, and in the studio this morning I'm joined by my colleague Vincent. Vincent, good morning.
Morning, Mr. Captura. How are you?
I'm alright, thank you. How are you?
Fine.
How is the morning?
Not bad.
Alright.
At least the weather today is a bit better.
Yeah, I think there is this breather in terms of the rains. They have some kind of stored and are giving a breather to the citizens, especially those in Lusaka, and also the farmers, at least to go into the next stage of their farming.
Yes.
Well, viewers, we're looking forward to a wonderful and awesome show this morning. However, right about now, we move into our first segment, which is the Health Corner. Catch us on the other side.
Hi, good morning and welcome to the Health Corner here on the Breakfast Show. I am Dr. Nakuya Namfaya. So this week we have been talking about a condition that is very common and easily transmissible to other people, and we've been talking about tuberculosis. So we talked about what is tuberculosis, and we say tuberculosis is an infection that affects the lungs, and it's usually caused by a bacteria called Mycobacterium tuberculosis. So the primary place it affects is the lungs, and there are other parts of the organ of the body, other organs of the body that can be affected as well, from the brain to the skin. So whether it's the brain, the back, or the spine, whether it's the kidneys, the liver, they can all be affected by this infection. And so depending on which part of the body is affected, there's a different time period of treatment that TB medications can be given. We also talked about the signs and symptoms. We say that TB can present with certain signs and symptoms, and usually these are classic symptoms because it's usually people who have this condition that would present like that. So they would have a cough which has been there for about 2 weeks or more than that. They would also have a fever, they would have night sweats as well, and chest pain. So they might also have weight loss and fatigue, and depending on which other part of the body is affected, for example, if it's the brain, they might have confusion, they might have headaches, they might have seizures or a coma, and if it's the back or the spine, they might have back pain. If it's the kidneys that are affected, they might have urinary problems like difficulties urinating or pain when urinating, or even abdominal pain because of the kidneys where they're located. So they might also have cutaneous lesions where there are some lesions on the skin if the skin is affected, and also other organs as well. If it's the eyes that are affected, they might have lesions in the eyes. So TB can be diagnosed in the hospital and treated, and it needs to be diagnosed in the hospital based on the culture. So you need to be able to do a culture to be able to grow the bacteria in the hospital or in the lab, and when that culture is done, they need to confirm that somebody has TB. However, there are other tests that can be done to be able to show that someone has TB, such as the gene expert, a chest x-ray, and a urine TB lab. So people who have these symptoms would need to be subjected to these tests, and if the chest x-ray shows that you have TB, you might be started on TB medications. If your gene expert is positive, you might be started on TB medications. If your urine TB lab is positive, you may or may not be started on TB medications because TB lab might not be very specific, and so it might not be very reliable. But these others, like a chest x-ray, a gene expert, might show really that somebody has TB. So how is it that you can prevent yourself from having TB, or what can you do to prevent yourself from getting this infection? So number one is that you need to protect yourself. If you're staying with somebody who has TB, make sure you protect yourself and try to limit the amount of time that you spend with the people or the person who has TB. try to isolate these people, or even better still, you can take them to the hospital where they can be isolated at least for even 2 months during the period when the infection is very active. Then after that, they can be sent home or discharged, and they can be treated at home, because after 2 months at least the person has become less infective, and so you can be able to stay with them. But still, you still need to protect yourself. Limit the amount of time that you spend with this person, and if you can be able to wear a mask when you're coming in contact with somebody who has TB, then it's better that you do that. Then also avoid overcrowded places that are too crowded. You might not know who has TB, and it's easy for you to get the TB transmission, because it's transmitted through aerosols. So as soon as somebody coughs out these aerosols that have this infection or the bacteria, and you inhale these bacteria, you can be able to get the infection. So avoid overcrowded places. Then also, if you are a smoker, we say that smoking is a risk factor, so avoid smoking. If you take alcohol or if you abuse drugs, especially IV drugs, make sure you refrain or try to stop taking these drugs, or taking alcohol and smoking, because it's a risk factor for getting tuberculosis. The other thing, for people who have immunosuppression, like people who have HIV, who have diabetes, try to protect yourself and try to wear a mask if you are in overcrowded places, and avoid coming in contact with people who have tuberculosis. If you are a healthcare worker, try to limit the amount of time that you spend with people who have TB. So these are some of the ways that you can be able to prevent tuberculosis. And also, if you have a child who is still young, try to take them for BCG vaccine, especially babies who have just been born. Make sure that you get them vaccinated for BCG to prevent them from getting TB. And if you have a 5-year-old and you have somebody who has TB in the house, make sure you limit the amount of time that this baby comes in contact with the person who has TB, because the babies who are 5 years and below are at a higher risk of getting this infection. So these are ways that you can protect yourself from getting TB, and we need to be able to protect ourselves, and also we need to limit the transmission of TB, so that more people, so that not many people can have this infection, and not many people can be able to transmit it. And we want to be able to live without TB in the future. So I do hope you have learned something this week, and make sure that you catch up on my YouTube channel. If you have missed anything, you can watch on my YouTube channel, which is Dr. Nakubiana Mfaya Siameka. Or you can, if you have any questions, you can reach out to me on Facebook, which is Dr. Nakubiana Mfaya Siameka. And I'll see you again next week. I do hope that you will stay healthy, take care of yourself, take care of your loved ones, and stay blessed.
That was the health corner right there, just telling us on how we can prevent tuberculosis, which is a life-threatening disease when acquired. Remember that the doctor there also did mention that children, especially under the age of 5, they are vulnerable to getting tuberculosis. So make sure that you put in place preventive measures as well. Also the adults, ensure that you take heed to some of those measures that the doctor has just alluded to. Vincent, it's very important that we prevent the spread of tuberculosis, which is also affecting many people in communities.
Yeah, and what's more important is that information is readily available. You can find it everywhere, especially for TB. You can visit any hospital. I think any medical personnel, even me who is not a medical personnel, is able to tell one or two things about tuberculosis, and that's what's important in preventing this disease.
Oh yeah. Right about now, we move into the money market. You know, the money markets have been a topical issue throughout. Perhaps in a year or so now, we are talking to it because the kwacha has not been gaining, especially with the convertible currency, the dollar. We are now heading towards 27 kwacha.
Actually, yesterday it was 27 kwacha according to APSA. Yeah, it was 27. We wait to see what the updates we have will show us, probably from Bakosa.
Alright, those are the money markets on your screens. The US dollar is buying at 26 kwacha 55 ingwe, selling at 27 kwacha 08 ingwe. There, the euro is buying at 28 kwacha 87 ingwe, selling at 29 kwacha 44 ingwe. The South African rand is buying at 1 kwacha 41 ingwe, selling at 1 kwacha 44 ingwe. The Great British Pound is buying at 33 kwacha 8 ingwe, selling at 34 kwacha 47 ingwe. I think that's just the trend. We did mention that yesterday it was selling at 27, and right there it is at 27. We still await to see how the year unfolds in terms of our currency, and also as the tracking framework, the export tracking framework comes into effect. Perhaps when the export earnings are returned into the Zambian banks, we're going to see a bit of effect on our currency right there.
Yeah, and I think, wow, it's not such a good mode to start a year. Yeah, you can't be starting a year like that, because I think the kwacha has been losing value since somewhere around June, July last year. Yeah, and from there we've seen it losing value against the dollar up to date. And I think government has put in place various measures, but we don't see them impacting the kwacha positively.
And the other issue has also been the concern of production. You know, the turmoil that has affected the uncertainty that has affected the mining sector. And economists out there, and also just the financial experts, they are hoping that as the mining sector settles, we hope to see that the kwacha is going also to rebound. You are aware that copper is our major export earner.
Yes.
When the KCM and Konkola copper mine issue they are resolved, we hope that the kwacha, in terms of value against the dollar and other major convertible currencies, is going to stabilize and also appreciate. Maybe we can use that term.
Yeah, and I think those are some of the measures that government has put in place, revamping the mining sector, as well as you mentioned the export tracking framework, which is to ensure that the export earnings are detained into our banks before they are used elsewhere. But I think also what's important is to ensure that these measures are implemented soonest, because we are seeing the prices of commodities going up almost every day. Yeah, you go in a shop today looking for a biscuit, you go next week, it will be maybe 50 ngwe or 1 kwacha plus. Yeah, which is unfortunate.
Yeah, I think also the other issue, as the government is talking about this export tracking framework, the other issue to look at also is that the big businesses especially should be banking, because it is some kind of a culture for some businesses. I don't want to mention names, but
I know what you mean.
These people they don't bank the money with the banks, the local banks. They keep the money in the houses, and they are big businesses.
Yeah,
and they just sort of export the money.
I think they command the business community in Zambia this way.
And they export the money. So I think also government they should come up with measures of ensuring that certain kind of amount of money is taken to the bank, so that the money is kept in circulation. That also I think would help, in as much as we are also looking at the export tracking framework. We need to ensure that large amounts of money are banked, because they are getting money from the economy. You are siphoning money from citizens, and that money is kept and then it's taken somewhere else. Because some time back there was a president from another country who did say that our citizens are working hard. Some of them are in Zambia, they are sending money here, and our economy is surviving. I think we need to ensure that even as they send their money, they externalize those funds. These funds also must be kept in the
must have an impact
in the circulation.
Yes. Yeah, I think, yeah. And a lot of them.
Yeah.
As you mentioned, I think Zambians, we have that mentality. We have the fear, mentality kind of, because you can't keep, even when I have a 500 in my mobile money, I start looking at my phone almost every time, what message is coming through and what not, because we see there are these scams and what not. So we usually have that fear to keep the money in our homes.
And when you just move into some of these shops, you discover that they don't even use Airtel money. They don't use mobile money rather. You just discover that they don't even use mobile money. Everything is offline. And yes, they don't even use mobile money. Everything is offline, and authorities also, like the Zambian Revenue Authority, they should also move in as they are moving into the other direction, moving to ensure that these big businesses, they work with the financial systems that are in the country.
And I don't know why these the authorities that are lagging behind, because we've seen small businesses as small as a restaurant, they are using the payment mode, maybe mobile money as you said, and they have a tax to pay. Now, what of these big businesses? I'll mention in Kamwala. I think I've seen one in Kamwala. These people don't use.
They don't do that, and authorities.
Sometimes you don't even get a receipt. Yeah, you just pay. You are given the change. If there's change, off you go. Yeah, which is, I think they should look into that.
Yeah, though these are issues of concern for our viewers. Today it's a Friday discussion, and every Friday we do look at business. You can use the numbers on your screen to get in touch with us, and right about now we are just moving into zooming some of the stories that we do have in the news. So the National Action for Quality Education in Zambia calls on the government to ensure that this is the last time the country experiences a cholera pandemic. NACA's Executive Director Aaron Chansa says cholera is a preventable disease that needs a proactive approach from relevant authorities to be kept. Speaking during the handing over of disinfectants to 7 schools in Chiwolia zone, Mr. Chansa says going forward, no further extensions should be made on reopening dates of schools in the country. Let's get to look into that story.
The 2024 academic year was supposed to resume on the 8th of January, but with a surge in cholera cases, the opening date was rescheduled to January 29th, and later the Ministry of Education moved the opening date to February 12th, 2024. Stakeholders in the education sector, such as National Action for Quality Education in Zambia, NACA's Executive Director Aaron Chansa, is calling on the government to be proactive and ensure that the country never records a cholera outbreak, as it is a preventable disease. Mr. Chansa was speaking when he donated assorted disinfectant materials to 7 schools in Lusaka's Chiwolia zone at the Chiwolia Secondary School.
I want to plead with government and the Zambian people that we let this be the last time that Zambia is experiencing this pandemic. Cholera is a preventable disease. We know the causes of cholera, and Zambia has the capacity to prevent this. Our position is that if we were to be proactive, we can stop this in December by making sure that all areas that are prone to this are actually disinfected, to benefit about 6 schools. 6 schools. The value of the donation is 12,500 kwacha. It may not be very enough, but I think that it is going to go a long way in helping our schools.
And Bright Musonda, District Guidance Counseling Coordinator, representing DEB's District Education Officer Ian Mioba, appreciated the gesture from NACA's.
For choosing Lusaka District, which is our district, and in particular choosing our schools in Chiwolia zone, considering them for this important gesture. We thank you very much, and in thanking you, we are saying that the donation which you are making to our schools in Lusaka district and Chiwolia district will go a long way because it has come at the right time.
Meanwhile, the Zambia National Education Coalition, ZANEC, calls on the National Disaster Management and Mitigation Council of Ministers that decided to extend the school closure to put in place adequate measures in the 2 weeks that schools will be closed to ensure that schools have all the necessary requisites as they reopen.
The National Disaster Management and Mitigation Council of Ministers that decided the school closure to be extended need to put in place adequate measures in the 2 weeks that schools will be closed to ensure that schools will have all the necessary requisites that will protect learners from cholera when they reopen. Number 2, it was also not prudent to generalize the closure of schools in all parts of the country. The extended closure of schools should have been only in parts of the country that have cholera.
Cherish Sibote for Camnet News, Lusaka.
That is the national quality education, that is the national action for quality education rather in Zambia and case joining the fight against cholera in the country by donating disinfectants to 7 schools in Chiweda zone in Lusaka right there. Which is a good thing. I think we have seen that a number of stakeholders have been coming on board to join hands with the government. We also saw yesterday the Minister of Health, she was on the ground, she's all over social media trying to champion the cleanliness from the ground.
But I think we are a bit too late. I think what we are doing now is a bit expensive than if we had prevented it. Just look at, I want to borrow the report that is from playing there. If we had stakeholders reacting like that when the cholera outbreak wasn't recorded yet, I think we would have prevented it. Why should we come in to help government in treating rather than preventing? I think we should have that mindset switch. We shouldn't always looking at it that government should have done this. We should also be part of it.
Be proactive, yes, especially companies. We do understand that, for instance, Kanyama constituents, which is prone to cholera, on the other side of Kanyama Road, Mumba Road,
there are industries.
There are a lot of industries. So instead of donating during the cholera outbreak, you can donate in terms of putting in place measures with the Lusaka City Council in these areas to ensure that the disease is prevented. And I think these are measures going forward, as the President did mention, that we need to start the planning and ensuring that the shanty compounds are upgraded. We need to see also companies again also coming forward also to do some form of donations in terms of, because it's a very expensive exercise. I'm sure we have one of the stories here where the Zambia Land Alliance was alluding to that the planning and the planning of the city is going to be more expensive than the planning itself, which is, it's very important that the district and the regional plans, according to the Act of 2015, they should be put in place, they should be enforced. And we need to see the corporate world coming on board just as they are coming on board to prevent the disease now that it is just broken out.
I think I'll borrow Mr. Dr. Chancellor's words. It's a shame that we should be having cholera cases 59 years after independence. No. And as you mentioned, I think also companies should have that policy. I don't know if it's on the side of the companies or government should implement the policies where we have maybe cleaning exercise maybe twice or once a month. I mean, how do you feel as a company you produce a plastic and then you are driving, you see it on the street? And you are comfortable with that?
And also this it takes me to the issue of the producer extended responsibility or something like that, which
I think there
is a law which was implemented by the Zambia Environmental Agency ZEMA to ensure that these producers of these pollutants, they should be taking charge of the waste or having a contribution in terms of managing the waste. But we haven't seen this thing also come to fruition. And now, because in as much as we are trying to end this pandemic, we're also looking at ending it completely to eliminate the disease. I think ZEMA should also come on board, and the Ministry of Environment and Green Economy should come on board and ensure that some of these things are dealt with permanently. Well, today is also a big day, viewers, as you may be aware or not. The list of more than 7,000 teachers has been released, and also we also have the grade 12 results that have also been released. You can be part of this program by utilizing the numbers on your screen. You can react to the stories that we are zooming in, and also other issues of concern in terms of business, and as well as the reaction on the number of teachers that have been recruited, as well as the grade 12 results, your expectations. They are being released today. Maybe we can move, Vincent, to move to the other stories where we look at a local policy think tank has urged government to further strengthen the Constituency Development Fund CDF guidelines. The Center for Trade Policy and Development notes that despite promising potential, the increased CDF in enhancing community welfare, a critical gap still exists which requires immediate attention to ensure the revised guidelines adequately address the challenges faced by the communities. Maybe I can also move to that story. The government says it understands the crucial role that the media plays in fostering development in the country. Minister of Information and Media Director spokesperson Henry Kapata said this when he visited Camnet TV during his familiarization tour of media institutions. Mr. Kapata says government appreciates the role that the private media plays in the country, or rather in communicating its developmental agenda to the masses. Yesterday, the director was at the studios.
Yeah, and I think before we preempt,
yes,
I think you should get it from him. I liked what he said when I was here. Yeah, I think he promised. His speech was a bit promising. Yeah, and we await to see what action will come through from the other side.
Okay.
Before we preempt, I think you should get that.
We can get into those two stories.
Open up a new page, we'll be engaging you, and we want to make sure that you're part of the developmental system that we have said this is the way government should be run. This is a new chapter. You're part of government. We'll wait for your report from our colleagues here. They will be able to tabulate what is it that they can partner with government. And we'll be ticking. Here we can do that. You know, we're in a crisis now, current crisis.
Yes.
You are the people that are closer to the community. You should be able to guide us, to say, look here, it's not about what we see, cholera statistics every time. Yes, Ministry of Health can put up statistics, but do statistics construct news per se? Not so much, but it's good information, maybe for research or for understanding.
Sometimes now we're being converted into clarifications agency. When social media misinforms, we have to now retell the story because now to bring things into perspective. Then sometimes that also creates a bad perception because people don't understand the people behind social media. They just say the media, journalists, you see. So at the end of the day, our reputation is undermined. We want a situation where credibility does not only extend in the mainstream media, but also goes beyond. And on social media, in the social civic space, in as far as the digital space is concerned, we should also achieve credibility because that is important for us. We should make sure that information is credible.
Absolutely.
The current status of the Constituency Development Fund guidelines prompts the Center for Trade Policy and Development to call upon government's further consideration, specifically in mining communities who bear a disproportionate burden of negative consequences, face unique challenges, and are often excluded from the benefits of mining activities. Despite the potential of the augmented CDF to uplift the welfare of communities, there exists a critical gap that calls for immediate revision of these guidelines in order to address the specific challenges of these communities. A critical gap that currently exists within these guidelines is a lack of a framework for data retention and assessment of the developmental impacts of the CDF. The current CDF guidelines also lack a robust auditing mechanism to prevent leakages as well as misuse of funds. Therefore, as a recommendation, the Center for Trade Policy and Development calls for increased community participation, transparency and accountability in the operation of CDF, as well as prioritization of social and environmental issues when developing the revised CDF guidelines.
You are watching Camnet TV Breakfast Show. Today I am Afias Kaptura and my colleague Vincent in the studio. Remember that you can be part of this program by utilizing the numbers on your screen. You can call in and give us your views in terms of the stories that we are just zooming in, those headlines right there, and also just other issues of concern, as so as especially matters of business. Remember also today that 7,000 names of teachers have been released. These they applied under the 2023 teacher recruitment exercise. We are also expecting the Minister of Education, Dr. Douglas Sakalima, around 9 hours today to announce the grade 12 results, where parents are expecting their children to progress. The bundles of joy who are going into adulthood also to progress in tertiary education.
But I think I would like to add a voice on the teacher recruitment. This exercise was started a long time ago. Why they delay? Yeah, I think by now we should be in the processes of knowing where who is going. You understand? I think it was just too long, unnecessarily long, because according to, I don't know the explanation behind it, but I think it shouldn't take more than it has taken.
Maybe they were adding a number. Remember that they did announce it was around 4,000 teachers, but they have added 2,000 plus. Maybe that was the cause for today. They wanted to ensure that they also include replacements by not including the replacement into the 4,000, but also maybe just topping up the number. Yeah.
But still, Mr. Abdul, I think according to the reports that we are getting, they needed 4,000, as you said, but the people who applied were way too many, and you just pick from there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Again, there's no that process of starting to reapply, people reapplying and whatnot. I think, yeah, for me, I think it was just long, and I think we need to do better.
Yeah, especially for those who were waiting for these names. I'm sure they were tired of waiting, and
I think they even lost hope
and all those issues. But we hope that the release of the names today is going to at least to put smiles on those who have been picked, and also those who have not been picked. Well, as government is promising, even this year there's a recruitment. Take heart and ensure that again you try.
Yeah, and I think to those who have been selected, we must say congratulations.
Yeah, congratulations to those who have been selected. You know,
yeah, it hasn't been easy.
The numbers, it's huge. Yeah. For those who applied and those who have been selected, it is a privilege, especially that it's a service to Zambians. You know, teaching is a molding of society, the teaching profession, and joining the profession. Those who have been selected, especially in government, it's kudos to them, and they must deliver according to expectations.
Yeah, and also I think also one thing what you must notice that they have been selected at a time when government has also implemented the increased wages. I think it's a good luck.
Yeah, they have come at a better time.
Yeah,
there could be no better time than this one to join the service. While we are zooming headlines, and right there, just in case you have been watching, we just had the director spokesperson in the Ministry of Information who toured Camnet TV studios yesterday, and we did have a cordial discussion. He did promise enhanced engagement with the media, and especially specifically with Camnet TV. And also we have CTPD there, who are expressing concern rather on shortcomings in the CDF guidelines, which they say are inhibiting in terms of inclusivity of the fund. So CTPD right there through the programs manager rather is calling on government to ensure that the guidelines are revised, that many people benefit from the CDF.
I think for me, I would dwell on the issue of publication. I think, much as the CDF empowerments under the CDF are publicized, but I don't think we have enough information on the ground, because take for instance Lusaka. I don't know for you, but on my side I haven't seen any CDF apart from the police stations. Maybe they've built a school, a classroom block, but I haven't seen personally a lot of people benefiting. Yeah, they are there who have benefited, yes, but if you go around asking, there are very few who have benefited.
Maybe it's an issue of also, you know, I recall having a discussion with the Member of Parliament for Kanyama constituency, Mr. Moti Chinkuli, who says that despite people benefiting from this fund. When they benefit, they disappear. It is a fear perhaps of not utilizing the money to the intended purpose. And I think that is what must change as well. We need to ensure that there are safeguards when people, especially when they get, for instance, the grant, they get the loan. But I'm sure the loan part is not doing that bad, because the loan part is that you have to pay back.
Yeah.
The biggest challenge are those, the culprits are those who are getting the grants. When they get the grants, they disappear. And they don't want even to come out to come forward to say, no, I acquired this grant, this is what I did, because perhaps they squandered the money. And also the publicity issue of the councils.
Yeah.
I think we need to have a tracking mechanism, especially for the council.
Yeah.
Maybe the communications department and I don't know, those who are in charge of implementing this issue. They must be going back and to tell successful stories. You know, this program is a flagship program for the United Party for National Development led government to ensure that they develop, they empower citizens. So it is, the onus is also on the council to be following up on some of the people who are acquiring these grants to ensure that stakeholders, they satisfy stakeholders, you know, also the media.
Yeah.
We are not satisfied because some of these things, we don't see them.
We don't see them, yeah.
We don't see people to say, no, I received a grant, this is what, sometimes we try to follow up, I've tried,
yeah,
I think a number of times, I've tried,
that one, yeah.
I've gotten number. Come to your area and find out what you are doing. You try to call these people, they stop picking.
They stop picking, yeah.
So I think it's the issue of misappropriation of funds by the beneficiaries, which must I think he should work on, as also working on ensuring that the fund is acquired by many people.
Yeah, I think on that one, I recall also having a discussion with Kawata MP, Honorable Taengwa, who was, as you said, was saying the council is not doing much. Firstly, from implementing, publicizing, as well as monitoring. So we see that there is this gap, I think, created by the council, because they are responsible for making sure that people know of the CDF and the schemes under it. Yeah, if you as a journalist, you are not aware, what's more someone
just
else,
a common man out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, coming back to the stories that were zooming in this morning, the last part that I have here is and in terms of related to cholera, the private schools and colleges association of Zambia says the postponement of opening dates has affected private institutions greatly, as most of them solemnly depend on school fees from students. Speaking to Camnet News, Priska Executive Committee member Honesta Kumwenda says private schools are ready to accommodate learners as they have put in place necessary measures to ensure cholera in their institution is averted. Ms. Kumwenda says children are safer in schools because it is a controlled environment. She has further urged parents to start paying tuition fees as the first term will run for the exact number of weeks a term must have regardless of starting in February. Let's just go into that story.
Schools or us in the private sector, we are not saying this hasn't affected us. It has affected us a lot, in that we depend on tuition fees paid by parents, and in this case, when children are not here, the fees haven't been paid. But we would like to urge the parents, even now that schools are being postponed, that they should still pay, because in this case 12th of February is just in a few weeks time, and if they will not pay, that still might affect the learning of their children. In terms of preparedness, I think a lot of us in the private sectors, we are ready, we've prepared, we've bought the buckets, we've bought the chlorine, we've put our surroundings clean and green in readiness for the children to come.
There's always a business side to anything, Vincent, and we have seen there the private schools and colleges association of Zambia. It's raising the issue of business side of the postponement of schools.
Yeah, I think.
And mostly they depend on when pupils are in school, that's when they're able to manage themselves, as well as pay teachers. And you know, we have a huge number of teachers in the country. Most of them are in the private schools, and for them to get the salaries when the schools are operating.
Yeah, but I think I'm of a different opinion. Cholera is a life-threatening disease, and if it happens that it breaks out where in a school, for example, I think it would be a disaster. Yeah, unless they are saying these schools that are rated are boarding schools. But if it's for day schools, I think it's not conducive that they reopen. Yeah, because these children, including teachers, they move to and from schools. They are coming from communities.
The communities which are affected.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is very true. I think we need to balance up in terms of business, not just looking at the business side of it. We appreciate their point of view to say they depend on tuition fees, but of course the tuition fees should be coming from healthy students, healthy pupils rather, as they come to school. You know, everyone should be of peace of mind. What is important is that, as Nakez has alluded to, in these 2 weeks, enough measures should be put in place to ensure that the further spread of cholera is curtailed, especially in the epicenter, which is Lusaka. I think from your end you can also zoom in stories, but as well, let me just mention as you do that viewers, you can be part of this program by reacting to some of the stories and also matters of concern. We have zoomed a number of stories. Utilize the numbers on your screen to call in and give us your view.
Yeah, so going to the stories that I have here, one is coming from Kanyama, where a 64-year-old woman from Kasama in Northern Province is appealing to well-wishers to purchase a wheelchair for her granddaughter. Speaking in an interview in Lusaka Thursday morning, Kavakavaka. Did I read that right? Kavakavaka. Okay. Kavakavaka Mbireta says her 26-year-old granddaughter Sarah Kasongere is using a broken down wheelchair, making it difficult to move her around. Ms. Kavakavaka adds that the granddaughter is on social cash transfer, but the 800 kwacha given every 2 months is not enough to cater for all her needs. Let's get to see more in this report.
Kasama-based Kavakavak Bereta is appealing to all wishers to come to the aid of her 26-year-old granddaughter with a wheelchair. 26-year-old Sarah Kasongela, who has a physical disability, is using a broken-down wheelchair as the grandmother is unable to purchase a new one. Speaking at her daughter's house in Lusaka's Kanyama, Ms. Bereta says due to the lack of a wheelchair, it has been difficult to move her grandchild around. She adds that despite receiving social cash transfer of 800 kwacha, it is not enough to buy other necessities, more so a new wheelchair for Sarah. As it is said, a disability does not occur in one's body, but in the environment of interaction. It is therefore hoped that the assistance of a wheelchair to Sarah can enable her live a happier life. For Camnet TV News, Afias Kaptula, Lusaka.
Okay, that's a sad narrative. They are looking at that wheelchair. Wow, Mr. Kaptula.
Yeah,
I think you saw it first hand.
Yeah, I was on the scene. I think it's a struggle. I think you have seen that there are plastics there and those things. Just something that is just they've just tried to be getting by, and it's a challenge. Ms. Bereta there did also mention that perhaps something which is left out from the report. She did mention that she's also not in good health. As you saw, also she was trying. At some point she has to lift. Yeah. She has to lift Sarah there. She's having a heart problem, so she's she's in a difficult situation, and also, you know, I think in that situation a wheelchair is of importance.
Yeah,
and also some other necessities. Just hope that well wishers out there, they can come forward and maybe just donate a wheelchair to her, because I think with a wheelchair she's able to even to move around.
Yeah,
nice like that.
Yeah, and I think well wishers, those who are able to help, I think such situations we should be able to come through. Yeah. Now we move on to another story. This one is coming from in Rufunsa, where over 200 families in Mpokota village in Chief Mbunda's area in Rufunsa district are on the verge of being evicted from their land. This follows reports that a named mining firm wants to establish a mine in the area. Some of the affected villagers who spoke to Camnet TV have expressed concern over the development, adding that the purported eviction has been necessitated by the discovery of copper deposits in that area.
Dandaula manja virus manje bamira batise batipishe kwabula polisi bambiri bango babwera kuno iyo kutwalipishe isena mafuti kuno batise dandaula seba kubachana ma community kuno ndiye kwa watu do want diera most bantu kwantipezera cyane orapa manje so apa virus banaleta abantu kuno kuli pepa ku community anasebenzapo bantu anasenza bachuka kutali
chito tinale kati lingale bana ba skulu tenze kuthandizikirako kuno kuntu kupezeka kuti vonse banativalila so isevo chita chipempa kuli ba president batithandizire ise batipaseko chabe kang'ono chabe kuti nase tizisebenzirapo tizipezapo ma benefit yothandizirapo bana bathu mawido tizibathandiza pano bana baphunzire skulu bazaphunzisa bwanji bana tilingale chabe
ife tinaona kuti CDF yathu nyeminei so ndimati pezera ndrama ndiye tinafomiwa kuti inkhali CDF yathu ife tizipeza mo ndrama kustandizira oro ni free education but kufunika nsapato za ku skulu mabuku mabagi ni vambiri vane vimafunika so mwamene mndemo tenzo tandizika kuti tizipeza chani ndrama zokuti bana waendelemo ku skulu because of free education ngati mwana alibe nsapato sanga ende ku skulu alibe mabuku sanga ende ku skulu so mwande tenzo peza mabuku nsapato vonse vane vifunika vinango na vakudya kuti mwana ende ku skulu na mphamvu ni vakudya so ndiye chikucha ntipemphako ife chabe ku anthu akusogoro batimveko chifundo pankhani ya maini.
We want the president of this republic, he emphasized that let the community form the cooperatives as a way of empowering the community, and the cooperative must be able to apply at ZANO. At ZANO is a preserve for the local Zambians, but what these fellows have done, they have a large-scale exploration license. Now they are abusing the rage of the Zambian people. They have just gotten rages from other villages and they want to form a cooperative. How can a big company form cooperatives? And then they want to start mining where the Mpokota community have applied. And the cadastre and the Ministry of Mines, we don't know why they are taking so long to empower the people, the Zambian by birth and Zambian by descent. But they are trying to empower those people who are not even Zambia by descent. They could be Zambian by birth or by adoption, but these are the local Zambians who are poor. These are people who have got no money, and God has given them these natural resources, copper. But then these whites, they want to chase away the villagers. Where are they going to go? These are the people that have been voting. These people from Velos, they stay in Lusaka there. They don't even belong to this district, Rufunsa.
Another sad narrative there, Mr. Kaptula. And I think, I don't know, with Chongwe, land issues are always prominent this side of the province. I've covered so far 2 stories, one from Kasisi, the other one from Palavana, where our own citizens are displaced.
I think if this narrative continues, you know, the issue of displacement due to discovery of minerals,
and in preference of an investor,
it is countrywide.
Yeah.
And if this, it is because of this narrative that as a country we are at this level of development.
I suppose.
Both at national economic development and social development, where citizens, the owners of the country, are at the terraces of mineral wealth, or at the terraces of money. You're just watching money, or you're at the terraces.
Yeah.
You know, even as we go forward as a country, it's also very important that we continue even to review laws. Laws should be, in as much as the law is impartial, it should be in support of the local people.
Yeah.
It should be in support of yourselves. We have seen that those citizens, perhaps they were doing some small-scale mining from there, which is referred to as illegal mining, and then a big investor comes. You need to work out on how those people are going to be incorporated in the system.
Yeah.
Social corporate responsibility, where that company is going to come, and that is nothing. Because social corporate responsibility is just something that a company decides to do or not do.
Yeah.
And I remember some time back going into Western Province, into Northwestern Province, where this mining company just came out to say, no, we pay taxes to government. We also want to be doing that, but we pay a lot of taxes to government.
Wow.
You see? So it is very important that, because the development, the basic definition of development, Vincent, is not development when it does not include the local people.
Yeah, it's not.
It is not.
Yeah.
It is just something else. And as a country, we have been working with that. Proactivity in including the local people is very important going forward, if at all we are going to develop.
Yeah.
Because most of those minerals they are being mined for who?
And again, we are talking of issues of production for us to, first of all, improve the Kwacha's performance against convertible currencies. And those people there have found a source of livelihood. Why not empower them?
And that is the big question that authorities they should continuously to interrogate.
And talking of the issues of corporate responsibility, I was also in the same job in Kasisi area. There's a mine where someone died. I think you remember that.
Yeah, I remember that story.
Yes, I don't want to mention the name, but there's a mine there. For them to improve the road that they use themselves to transport the minerals and whatnot, it had to take residents of that area petitioning them. Petitioning that company for them to improve, firstly, the road network there. It's a stretch of about somewhere 8-7 kilometers, but they couldn't work on it. It had to take residents. And there was also water spillage. The discharge that was coming from the mine was being channeled to Chombe River.
Wow.
And that river, Mr. Kaptula, you may be interested to know that the waters in that river are used to water the vegetables, the tomatoes and whatnot. That tomato, that vegetable, is the one we get from Soweto Market.
From Soweto Market.
So imagine how many people would have been affected.
That is a start. I think we need to respect. You have to portray yourself, to say we need to respect ourselves.
Yeah.
In terms of how we are managing affairs.
Yeah.
Because when a government, because for those people to reach at that stage of coming out to the media, I'm sure they have tried a number of avenues to visit these offices.
I was told so. They tried to visit Zema, they tried to visit the mine itself, but whenever they went there, the management was running away. Yeah, they would simply drive off. So the moment they saw the media there, they failed to. Yeah.
So it's very important that our laws, they should put some dignity on ourselves.
Yeah. Okay, Mr. Kafura, I think we should be moving on in the interest of time. Zambia's annual inflation rate has continued to climb for the 7th month to hit 13.2% in January 2024, the highest since February 2022, up from 13.1% in the prior month, mainly on the back of a weakening currency. Speaking during the monthly bulletin Thursday, Zambia Statistics Agency Statistician General Mlenga Musepa says the increase has been necessitated by the price movements of selected non-food items, such as the increase in the purchase of vehicles. Mr. Musepa discloses that the overall monthly inflation for January 2024 stood at 2.1% from 1.0%, and attributed the increase to the price movements of cereals, meal, maize grain, samp, rice, eggs, and cooking oil. Let's get to hear first-hand information there from Mr. Mlenga Musepa.
With those developments in both food and non-food inflation, the January inflation rate was at 2.1% from 1%. That is the same level as in January 2023. So over the 12-month period, that is what we compiled. Let's move to the annual. The annual non-food inflation slowed down to 13.7% from 14.2% in December 2023. Now, this, you see, the main driver basically was vegetables, and I think much of it for economists, it's most likely a seasonal effect. And but we also had a slowdown in meat inflation, and the various types of meats are shown in the slides. However, the annual non-food inflation was up at 12.4% from 11.6% in December 2023. And again, like on a monthly basis, the drivers' purchase of motor vehicles. Then we also had spare parts on an annual basis and accessories. Airfares, domestic, regional, and international, were also part to the push-up in annual non-food inflation, and also charcoal and blankets. Now, what was the outturn? The outturn in overall inflation was basically 13.2%, mainly driven by that slowdown in food inflation.
Okay, there you have it, the inflation rate for the month January in the year 2024. Mr. Kaptula, there is one issue that has caught my attention. I think people are not honest in this country. We are complaining about the economy being bad and the culture, what's not. But people are buying vehicles, Mr. Kaptula.
We have different economies. We have different economies, and we have seen that the non-food inflation, as arranged by the Statistician General, there have seen that it has recorded 12.4% compared to 11.6% in the month, in the previous month. This shows that people are buying motor cars, or motor vehicles rather. And I think even government has been purchasing motor vehicles.
Okay, now
you can imagine that we have bought CDF cars,
156,
and also organizations, but also individuals out there. They are buying cars as well.
I think now I understand it when you have brought in the issue of government, because government has purchased, firstly, there is CDF cars and those ones, the police vehicles. I think now, okay, I understand.
So it understood. So it just. But what is also interesting to note is that the annual food inflation for January, which has somewhat dropped. And it has moved from 14.2% to 13.7% in terms of food. Which is, I think it's a minimal change. It's a minimal change, but these are just indicators just to show us how the economy is faring in terms of price changes.
Sure, Mr. Wafula. Now, the last story that I have here, the Zambia Land Alliance has appealed to local authorities in the country to fully implement the Regional and Planning Act of 2015 to curtail mushrooming and planned settlements. Alliance Executive Director Patrick Musole notes with concern that local authorities have not been proactive in curtailing unplanned settlements in the country. He was reacting to the government's announced plans to commence the replanning of shanty compounds in the country to address recurring waterborne diseases such as cholera.
Zambia has enacted a law that empowers local authorities to implement integrated development planning. That's the Urban and Regional Planning Act of 2015. The law is in place, and the human resource is in place. We have directors of planning in all the districts and municipal councils, and the planners and so forth. So all we need is actually the political will to be able to put money into this activity so that we can plan. So the law has been in place for the past 9 years or so. And what we need to do is to implement integrated development plans. From what I know, there are very few planning authorities that have put in place local plans. And yet the law has been in place for a while. So what we need as a country, one, we can respond to this emergency through replanning. Now, replanning will cost us because it will entail that we have to demolish houses and other structures in order to make way for roads and other service delivery infrastructure. So that will cost us. We also have to compensate for the people whose structures we are going to demolish.
Alright, land issues there. Also speaking to the issue of unplanned settlements, I think we've moved around the city of Lusaka and mostly the shanty compounds are affected. We have one nearby here. Is it Ngalinga? Yes. I think this Kanyama, Mrs. I think these compounds need reshuffles. Now I think we have some engagements on our Facebook page. We can take some, Mr. Kaptura.
Yeah, just as we conclude, maybe we can just take this message. I think this one is reacting. This is Ngwa is reacting to the Chongwe mine story right there, where he's saying that was sad and heartbreaking to hear. Why does our government continue prioritizing foreigners? The colonial system of government must be abolished and dismantled. The system that gives foreigners more rights and access to our wealth must die this year. Palestinians are paying for their lives for allowing colonizers to occupy and take ownership. Oh, that is a topic for another discussion right there. Maybe let me just end here by saying that our wealth must, the system gives foreigners more rights and access to our wealth must die this year. I think it's just something that we were talking about, to ensure that we need to put up even our laws. They should be favorable to ourselves. We must not be playing a gallery to the global system, which in some way just takes out our resources. And even as we talk about value addition, we must take practical measures. And part of the practical measures, also value addition, is to our citizens, the local people right there, in the localities where these minerals are discovered. Remember that such same stories are the ones that are obtained in Mumbwa, where the gold mineral has been found. The locals have been, all of them labeled as illegal miners, and they are just being chased around by those people who are exploring the minerals there, and also the police. We have covered a number of stories also in that area some years back. So these are issues of concern that going forward we must be able to address and face realistically as a country.
Sure, Mr. Kaptura. And we have also had Tasha Mwape was watching us from Solowezi. We had Darlington Simasiku who says, morning guys, watching Camnet live from Lusaka, Zambia. And the other one was watching from Chingola, that is Loudness Chima.
Well, we do appreciate the viewership right there, and we have to thank you also who have been watching from wherever you've been watching, from whatever platform. You can remember that this show is also on YouTube, GoTV, DSTV, and also Topstar. From ourselves in the studio, I think we had an awesome discussion. We have to come to the end of the program. This is what time could allow for today. Till next time, continue watching Camnet TV, not just another channel. On behalf of myself, Afias Kaptura, and Vincent Pini, also we must not forget the transmission controller, who is Mr. Chifita right there. Till next time, bye-bye.